Rachel Scott live at the White House for us. Rachel, thank you. Now to the outrage over the 9-hour Department of Justice interview with Ghislaine Maxwell, convicted of sex trafficking. Tonight, more of the audio here, what she says about President Trump, about former President Clinton, and about claims there's a Jeffrey Epstein client list. As the family of one of Jeffrey Epstein's accusers blasts the interview now, saying the Department of Justice is allowing Maxwell to rewrite history. Here's Aaron Kotursky.
Tonight, the anguished family of Jeffrey Epstein's most vocal accuser says the Justice Department's, quote, bizarre interview of Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, gave her a platform to rewrite history. The family of Virginia Giuffre furious after DOJ released audio and transcripts of Maxwell's 9-hour sit-down with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who used to be President Trump's personal lawyer. In the interview, Maxwell, who was serving 20 years for sex trafficking, proclaimed her innocence, insisted she didn't witness any inappropriate behavior by any of Epstein's powerful friends, and said a long-rumored list of Epstein's high-profile clients does not exist.
There's no list. There's never been a list.
And you never heard Mr. Epstein talk about such a list?
Never.
Maxwell was also asked about President Trump, who had a decade-long friendship with Epstein before their falling out.
I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects.
But she also contradicted Trump's claim former President Bill Clinton went to Epstein's private island 20 times.
You're not aware of President Clinton ever going to the island?
He never, absolutely never went, and I can be sure of that because there's no way he would have gone. I don't believe there's any way that he would have gone to the island had I not been there. Because I don't believe he had an independent friendship, if you will, with Epstein.
At the outset of the interview, the Deputy Attorney General telling Maxwell she shouldn't expect to be rewarded.
By you meeting with us today, we're really just meeting. I'm not promising to do anything. I'm not promising to ask Judge Nathan or any of the judges that's been assigned to your case to do anything. We're just talking.
But Democratic Senator Adam Schiff says that just doesn't wash.
So she wants a pardon. She says exactly what her lawyers tell her is going to be necessary to get a pardon.
Shortly after the interview, in a highly unusual move, the Justice Department transferred Maxwell to a minimum security prison camp. Tonight, Virginia Giuffre's family says that sends a disturbing message that child sex trafficking is acceptable and will be rewarded. The interview really was extraordinary, David. We can't think of another time a Deputy Attorney General flew to meet a convicted sex offender at her invitation. We know Maxwell wants out of prison. So the question tonight, David, does the president grant her wish? David?
You'll continue to follow this case, Aaron. Thank you. Now to the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, 3 days after being released from custody. He's now back in custody tonight. The administration now saying he will be sent to Uganda. Late today, a judge stepping in, and here's Pierre Thomas.
Just 3 days after he was released from federal custody, Kilmar Abrego Garcia arrested again by ICE officers when he arrived at his scheduled immigration appointment in Baltimore. And tonight, the Department of Homeland Security says he's being processed for deportation to Uganda.
We are all Kilmar!
Abrego Garcia, who was returned to the U.S. after being wrongfully deported to a notorious prison in El Salvador, today surrounded by supporters. Even though injustice is hitting us hard, he said, we do not lose faith. He's facing criminal charges filed after his deportation to El Salvador became the focus of an international controversy.
He's currently charged with human smuggling, including children. The guy needs to be in prison.
Abrego Garcia has pleaded not guilty, but his attorneys say the administration offered him a deal. If he changed his plea and serves time in prison, he would then be deported to Costa Rica, which has agreed to accept him as a refugee or a resident. They say if he didn't take the deal, he'd be deported to Uganda. David, tonight a federal judge putting the brakes on the government's plan to deport Abrego Garcia to Uganda, saying for now U.S. officials are absolutely forbidden from removing him from the U.S. The judge said it seems the administration wants to punish Abrego Garcia simply because he has exercised his constitutional right to a trial. David?
Pierre Thomas live in Washington. Pierre, thanks. Overseas tonight to Israel's deadly airstrike on a hospital in Gaza. 5 journalists are among at least 20 people killed. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu tonight calling it a tragic mishap. Here's our chief international correspondent, James Longman.
Outrage is growing tonight after Israeli airstrikes on a Gaza hospital killed 5 journalists, among at least 20 killed and dozens more injured. Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis was hit with an initial strike, and after rescuers and journalists had rushed to the scene, a second strike came in. Graphic video capturing these moments just before it blasts the hospital. Smoke and dust billowing where people stood seconds earlier. Camera equipment found in the rubble. Israel says they were targeting Hamas and regrets the harm to civilians not involved, and that journalists are not specifically targeted. The 5 killed all worked for international news outlets, and it comes less than 2 weeks after an Israeli strike killed 6 journalists outside a different hospital.
Any reaction to this? Are you going to talk to
Prime Minister? I don't want to see it. At the same time, we have to end that whole nightmare.
The Committee to Protect Journalists accuses Israel of deliberately targeting journalists in order to stop information from leaving Gaza. They say nearly 200 journalists have been killed since this war began. Israel denies that claim and say they've launched an investigation. David?
All right, James Longman in London tonight. James, thank you. Back here in the U.S. tonight, the countdown to that launch after multiple dramatic setbacks. SpaceX and the test launch set for just a short time ago. Gio Benitez on how this played out tonight.
Tonight, just moments before launch, SpaceX scrubbing the 10th test flight of the Starship because of bad weather. The world's most powerful rocket sitting on the launch pad in southern Texas, waiting for the go-ahead to launch. Back in June, a Starship exploded on the launch pad during a pre-flight engine test. And over the past 3 flights, the Starship either blew up or broke apart, sending debris streaking across the skies over the Atlantic, forcing ground stops at airports. A lot is riding on this mission. Elon Musk is hoping that the Starship will one day take people to the moon or even Mars.
Each launch is about learning more and more about what's needed to make life multiplanetary and to improve Starship to the point where it can be taking ultimately hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people to Mars.
And David, Elon says that the whole goal here is to quickly reuse rockets to eventually build a colony on Mars. David.
Gio Benitez following this into the evening. Gio, thank you. When we come back tonight in New York's Central Park, 2 separate attacks, the awful descriptions of these attacks, and there is news coming in on this. Also, the major meltdown at the U.S. Open, what a tennis player did with millions watching. And look at this tonight, the stunning crash, a firefighting helicopter trying to fill its bucket right there, the pilot then losing control, the chopper then plunging into the water. What happens next here in just a moment. Tonight in New York City, police arresting a suspect accused of 2 separate attacks in Central Park. Authorities say an 18-year-old victim was punched, kicked, and choked near West 62nd Street in Manhattan. Police believe the same suspect later threw a 37-year-old man to the ground, biting his ear at West 93rd Street. Both victims are in stable condition. Overseas tonight, dramatic video of a firefighting helicopter crash in Brittany, France. The chopper filling its bucket with water, then spinning out of control and plunging into the pond right there. The pilot's obviously losing control. Both, though, escaping without injury. Just extraordinary. When we come back here, the remarkable scene, the tennis tantrum at the U.S. Open, what a player did in front of millions watching, and the new turn tonight with this. And the Powerball jackpot, the new jackpot number tonight, and it sounds real nice. To the index and the epic meltdown at the U.S. Open here in New York, Russia's Daniil Medvedev taking on France's Benjamin Bonzi in the first round. It began with a photographer mistakenly walking out of the court in the 3rd set. Medvedev fuming at the chair umpire for giving Bonzi a do-over on his first serve, riling up the crowd, causing a 6-minute delay. He went on to lose in 5 sets, smashing his racket to pieces. This went on and on. The photographer, by the way, who sparked the meltdown, now banned from the tournament. But tonight, Medvedev says he does not blame the photographer. The Powerball jackpot, tonight's drawing now worth $750 million. That's $338 million if you take the lump sum payment. Let us know if you win.